Okay.
All right. Let me see here. Hold on, please, for a moment. Now, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The roll has been called, and the entire members of the council are present, and we will continue the roll call having been had. I wonder if Dr. Glass would do us the honor of introducing our newest board member, Mr. Tanner. Sir.
Thank you, Judge Smolkin. Today, I'd like to introduce Mr. Hiram Tanner as the last board member to join the Maryland Environmental Service Board, newly constituted. Mr. Tanner is an civil engineer first and an MBA second, but he does have an engineering degree and earned the professional engineer's license in 2 states, although they are inactive. But he also has a master's of business administration from Wharton. He was a high-level manager at DC Water for a couple of decades and worked in consulting firms in the DC metropolitan area throughout the middle of his career as an environmental engineering leader. So he's an expert in collection systems, so sewage collection systems, and also in wastewater treatment processes, particularly chemical addition to wastewater to precipitate out different things, change pH, and generally improve water quality. So that's a brief summary. Mr. Tanner, I don't know if you have any other words to add to that. You can't really, it's difficult to summarize a 40, 50-year career in a minute, in a few seconds, really, but Mr. Tanner, welcome to the board, and please add anything else that I may have missed.
Well, I don't have anything to add, but thank you for the welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Judge Smolkin.
Oh, very happy to have you with us, sir. And I also want to say for a minute or two some things about the people that you are seeing if you are watching our operation today. But may not have been recognized, and I want to make sure that everybody understands who they are and what they are. Sean Coleman, Esquire, is there, and Mr. Coleman is now waving at you to tell you who he is. And he is a member of the Attorney General's Office of the state of Maryland, associated with MES, and I have gotten to know him because, frankly, most of my legal time has been on the federal side. So I occasionally got into matters of Maryland when we got into diversity of citizenship, but that's another question. But it was rare. So I am very happy to have Mr. Coleman with me and with his folks that are with him. Mr. Tosi, I see him. And is there anyone else on your side other than Pam?
No, not to date, Your Honor.
Well, thank you very much. And these are fine, fine people. I'll move to Pam Fuller, who is the I don't know, major domo or major doma. I'm not sure. My Latin has escaped me. Didn't get very far to begin with. So she is here and does a tremendous amount of help for me and for many others. So thank you. And Pam, if you would wave everybody, you've talked to them, but wave to them so you know who she
Morning.
is. And we have Miss Leach. Jana, are you there? There she is. And she's another person who is with us and does tremendous amount of work for us as executive associate. So thank you very much. Okay. Now, the next item want to arrive with us is the approval of minutes of June 24th. The new rules of Robert's rules of proper, I don't know what you would call it, proper making has been changed. You do not have to have any more people who were actually present at the time there was a meeting that you are now putting forward for approval. So therefore, we have sent these to all the members. We've sent the ones that of June to all the members. And at this point, I want to see if anyone has any objection or any questions about them.
Actually, Judge Smolkin, those were the July 15th minutes.
Oh, July, I'm sorry. The July 15th, I'm sorry about that. So in any event, is there anyone who has any problems with it or any reason to discuss it? Hearing none, we will then approve those minutes. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate that.
Okay.
All right, next on the is to bring back our distinguished director, Dr. Glass, and the office is yours, sir.
Thank you, Judge Malkin. This month, I would like to start with the next slide, Ms. Fuller. Or not, actually, I'll come back to that later. I want to start with the next slide. I'm sorry. There we go. So I alluded to this slide last month and the approach that we've had for about a year to go back and start with the Annotated Code of Maryland, COMAR, all the regulations, all board resolutions, and then the MES policies and procedures. And so when I formed the policy project, when I initiated the policy project and dedicated 2 managing directors to lead that effort last fall, it was to really make sure, after I'd read the law, COMAR, and the board resolutions, to make sure the policies were following a direct line and meeting the same goals. And then they're connected to the mission, vision, and currently called 5 keys or values of the organization. And we have a MES history and top stories, and that's on our website. And then also develop MES key performance indicators. So with the policy project substantively complete, except for getting through legal review and finalizing both the policies that are in the new law and the old policies, just in a new format, and making sure that they are all in sync. That all leads to building an excellence and success together, which is the performance program for the agency. So I just wanted to present this to you. It should be willing to be in the board PowerPoint now, but we're still in the process and just moving towards all of those boxes, getting to a performance measurement, performance indicator system for management to utilize to help make sure that we are enforcing and following everything in the green boxes at the top. All right. Are there any questions about that or any input? That's fine. I just wanted to present it because I talked about it, but it's better to show a visual. Previous slide, please. Now I'll go back to my regular report. So as you can see, by the new law, it's required that we go over the director and deputy director's expenses and purchase card each month. I mentioned this, and I'm going to try to get a habit of not necessarily mentioning too much about the expenses before they've processed through the financial system. The only thing on this month's is Deputy Director Furketic is going to go to the Tri-Association Conference in Ocean City in a couple of weeks. So she just registered for the event and started reserving her room for $230. Other than that, we're getting used to this. And for a long time through the first year, I really had no expenses. So we're processing delegation of authority so that one of the executive assistants can process all any invoices, any purchase cards or any receipts from travel. So MML should be on this already, but it just got processed and there were just issues with proxy rights and delegation authority. But now we're clear and it's moving forward. So anyway, Judge Smolkin and I have gone back and forth about the details are required. I'm just trying to meet every iota of the spirit of the law. Now you can go back to the original slide. This will just be my cover slide. my apologies.
excuse me, or Mr. Chairman, I don't know which. Is there written down a policy statements regarding authority and delegation of authority and who does what? I mean, is there some sort of matrix?
In terms of processing receipts,
Just in general, I mean, I would think this is sort of a management process.
it is. So what I was describing is that if I have receipts from MML, I personally don't input them into our, I don't know how, I haven't studied our
Yeah.
financial and put them in myself. So an EA does it, and then Workday, our financial management system, does have all of that inside of it. And it's just those proxy rights have to go through an approval process, and they did. So, but it just delayed. This is the first time, proudly in a year, this is the first time events that I've attended. So this is the first time I'm processing receipts.
I get it, and I understand the background for this renewed board and system. I do understand that, but what I was looking for was some sort of a matrix that says the executive director does this, but this is delegated to this person, this is delegated to that person, this is approved by the board has no role in this at all. That sort of
Okay.
if the chairman feels that would be, I mean, I've not been on a management board, private sector management board like this before, and this may be more appropriate. I don't know.
The law just says that, as it goes up to $500, I have to present every item. Like literally that's in the new law.
Okay.
And and I think the wording is a summation total for both myself and the deputy director.
Okay.
But we're going to speed through it. We're going to get to a point where it's in line, but I can share with you the delegation and the process that we're doing just in the executive office, so that we're not sitting doing receipts all day. Okay, sorry. Ms. Fuller, now you can just put my cover slide up. So we attended I didn't know you put this in. We attended the MACO conference. It was very productive. Attendance was light at my presentation, but that engagement was really nice. We had a few high level interactions that I think will bear fruit, and I'll talk about them, elaborate on them now. The first is Southwest Airlines and an interest in sustainable aviation fuel. So at MACO, I met with the Southwest Airlines representative that is interested in renewable fuels being developed from natural products in Maryland. This may be more appropriate to pass on to the Maryland Energy Administration or the Maryland Clean Energy Center, and I will do so in time as it develops, but the mandate from the General Assembly to report on what we are doing in support of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Act supports our exploration of this initiative. I've already sent an email to the executive director of the Maryland Aviation Administration, Mr. Ricky Smith, and to give him a heads up that his major client, major economic driver at BW Marshall Southwest Airlines, has made this contact. And we have scheduled a follow-up meeting with both this person and some other technical folks at Southwest Airlines. So that's good for climate change and greenhouse gas if we can actually get a renewable product actually manufactured in Maryland and fueling jets at BWI. The second major contact was Mr. Tosi, our Director of Government Affairs, established a meeting with the Northeast Maglev Group. They are interested in MES supporting some of their pre-development work, their NEPA, National Environmental Policy work, in developing their project. A follow-up meeting has already been requested and should be scheduled soon. They just want some assistance in other, well, what an A&E consulting firm is doing for them. They asked for us to see if we can find ways to support them. Bioenergy DevCo. So I did attend the ribbon cutting. I talked about that last month, but I did that on July. But on July 26th, I had a follow-up meeting with their CEO, Sean Kreloff. And then at NACO, we had a larger meeting between Mr. Tosi, Mr. Ford, our new managing director of environmental operations, and I met with about 7 members of the BDC team. MES has a small task-based contract with some funding remaining that I plan to bill to me personally to kickstart this interaction again. I've committed to Bioenergy DevCo to work to get our engagement to a higher level. They had some statements about the engagement to date. There are 2 anaerobic digesters at the Maryland Food Center Authority are planned to start up this December in 2021, and then be fully operational by April 2022. I'm waiting to receive a list of all of their source loads and how we can assist them from their chief development officer, who I also met with this week. We have discussed MES handling all wastewater treatment at the facility. So the anaerobic digesters are their major process, but then they also have gas processing to re-inject into the BG line. And they will have a digestate that's also water with solids in it that they will need to further treat. They have stated that they have explored with the Maryland Port Administration the use of their digestate to blend with dredge material to create a topsoil. So they have been talking with the State Highway Administration and the Maryland Port Administration to make that so and meet all of the standards for state highway for infill during construction projects. So I'll keep you posted, but this is a major possibility to keep methane production from landfills and actually utilize it for renewable natural gas treasure cup. So it's moving along. I also had a conversation with Delegate Charkoudian about this project and food waste in general, and where anaerobic digestion and renewable natural gas can meet the requirements of her new law that she got through the General Assembly last year. And my final, I'll do the lighter note. Hart Miller Island visit on August 5th. I just want to thank the entire Hart Miller Island team of MES for hosting Judge Schmalkin and I and giving us a great tour. And thank you to the EDR leadership group for coordinating everything. Every time I visit a facility, I learn more. And I know for Judge Schmalkin and I, we really enjoyed the tour and such a great project with island building right outside the Baltimore Harbor. But the biggest kudos this month go to water and wastewater group and environmental operations. On Sunday morning, August 22nd, there was a total loss of water from the drinking water treatment plant at ECI. ECI is the largest correctional facility in the state. For the next 48 hours, both the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services and MES were in an all hands on deck situation. So the emails and calls started around 8:30 a.m. on Sunday, and we didn't have a closeout for this emergency response until 9 a.m. on Tuesday. At the time, it's believed that a programmable logic controller, an automatic controller, computer system that controls the reverse osmosis systems at that plant had failed. And temporarily, the tank just lost all water, practically all water, and pressure was below fire hydrant level. So nevertheless, without getting into details, I'm sure I've already talked to Acting Managing Director Serio about processing something we call here at MES an Inspire Award for everyone involved. But I sincerely want them to feel the appreciation. Deputy Director Paketic, Acting Managing Director Serio, Deputy Division Chief Bradshaw, Regional Supervisor Reed, and Assistant Regional Supervisor Faulkner, and all the water and wastewater operators at ECI. For 48 hours, they just cranked through, and we kept on problem solving, and the professionalism of the entire team, the coordination, the intensity, the grit shown throughout the entire situation, sincerely gave me pride just to be working with you all. And not to forget Managing Director Ford, Superintendent Thomas, and the entire ECI Cogen team for shutting down a steam plant and then getting that cogeneration back as soon as the water was there, getting emergency water from the county. And just the patience and steadiness of the entire team was really something to behold. And I wanted the board to know about that event. Obviously, there's security involved, so we can't tell too many details, but they just did an exemplary job throughout the process. And with that, I'll turn it back to Judge Smokin.
Anything else, sir?
Mr. Chairman, a really quick question. Charles, could that have been prevented?
So we're right now we're going to go through a hot wash, and we're going to look at that programmable system, that automatic control. We're going to look at the cost of investing in a redundant control system throughout. I could give you some details offline about what happened and what happened with the recovery, but I just don't want to talk about the security situation in the public forum.
Thank you.
Anything else, Doctor?
That's it for me.
All right, thank you. And I must say, I have omitted something that I ought not to have done. In the Middle Ages, I would have been flogged for it. But we have somebody who is a person who is well known all over the state of Maryland. She is now the Honorable Treasurer of the state of Maryland. She also had been in many other positions that have been well, she's a treasurer, but she's been a treasurer to Maryland, I'll put it that way, in the General Assembly and other places. So, Madam Treasurer, if you have anything you wish to.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very, very impressed by the new executive director and the work he's done in the last year, and this story of ECI, I think, is one that people should know. But I thank you for welcoming me. It's an honor to be a member of the board.
Thank you, ma'am, and it's a pleasure to have you here. Our next next item is the agency activity report, the managing directors. All right. I think we have financial report first. Is that correct? Oh, I can't hear you, Pam.
Okay. Yeah, we can move on if anyone had any questions. This is just the accepted proposals from the report.
Let's see here.
So if there's no questions, we can move on to finance.
Yes. Okay, I think there is no reason not to, so we ought to go to finance. Mr. Patel.
Good morning. I'm glad to present the financial results of fiscal year 2021, which ended June 30, 2021. The detailed report is included in your package that was sent to you. I'm just going to highlight some of the points from that report. Labor sales by group. So the labor sales are very important to MES because we charge a fixed fringe and overhead percentage on the billable labor. That money that we receive from charging the fixed fringe and overhead percentage will pay for all the fringe costs and overhead costs. Most of the other expenses in all the billable projects is 100% passed through. So that's why the labor sales are very important for MES financial position. For fiscal year 21, the labor sales were $35,892,000. In fiscal year 20, it was $36,105,000. So in fiscal year 21, the labor sales were $213,000 less. The reason for it is in fiscal year 20, we had 27 billable pay periods. In fiscal year 21, we had 26 billable pay period. So we expected the difference of 3.85%. Instead, the actual difference was only 0.58%. So the labor sales were very good for fiscal year 21. If there are no questions, I'll move to the slide number 2. This slide represents the change in net assets, which is the representation of all our revenues minus all our expenses. For fiscal year 21, the total change in net assets was 3.4 million. In fiscal year 20, the change in net assets was 3.6 million. The fiscal year 21 change in net assets of 3.4 million will be used for best payouts upon board approval, for contingency fund, and increase in unrestricted net assets. So this 3.4 million is our preliminary number, and it will come to the board to allocate that in these three different parts, including the best payout. And we intend to present that in the next board meeting. Next slide, please. Is there a question or should I move? Okay. These are the total net asset components. Our total net assets as of fiscal year 2021 end is 33,912,000. Usually it is divided 50% in each component, invested in capital assets, which are our long-term investments for building equipment, etc. And the other 50% is the contingency fund and unrestricted net assets. In 2021, we see a difference is not divided almost 50% each component, because once the best payment is determined, that percentage will vary and will be close to 50% each component. They are invested in net assets and unrestricted net earnings. Next slide. So at the beginning of each fiscal year, based on estimated labor sales and the percentage of fringe and overhead that we're going to charge to our clients, we prepare a full year budget. The full year budget for fiscal year 2021 was $3.1 million net increase. However, we winded up with $3,428,000 in increase in net assets, mainly because there were many vacancies at the top level of management, deputy director and director of administration. So there was for a few months, there was a vacancy at the top level. That's why we have more actual increase in net assets than budgeted. This full year budget, I will present it in the next board meeting, because we need 2 months of actual history, which is July 21 and August 21, before we can project the full year budget, because our income varies based on the number of projects we receive. Next slide, please. This is 2021 financial plan, which was prepared at the beginning of the fiscal year. Now I presented to you the actual amounts. So this 2021 financial plan, I put it in there to show how it was prepared, but we will have 2022 financial plan in the next meeting. And just for the comparison purposes, I prepared this actual for July 2021. The whole package of July 2021 is not prepared, which is about 10 pages. It will be included in your next board of directors meeting package. We may have August ready by then. So we'll, depending on that, we'll present the latest financial statements in detail in the next board of directors meeting and the package. But as you can see that fiscal year 2021, the change in net assets was 785,000 for July. Fiscal year 2022 is 609,000. I just want to highlight two things here. The fringe recovery variance is $26,000 less in a loss. Fringe variance is a very fluctuating amount because based on the leave taken, holidays, it is fluctuating month by month. When we present the plan, it will take care of averaging out that. Besides that, in fiscal year 22, we have reduced our fringe and overhead rates across the board. So I think we are probably reaching the almost bottom of that rate setting, but the rate is determined 2 years in advance. So based on fiscal year 2021 results, we will set the rates for fiscal year 2023. Next slide. We usually present the major accounts over 90 days due in each board of directors meeting. Town of Sudlersville has 387,000 past due, and it is in a status quo. It is, I'm just showing it to you because that is still on the books. Baltimore County had 43,000, but it was paid on July 19, 2021. Baltimore County Department of Public Works has 18,000 past due invoice over 90 days. We are working on it, and we provided additional documentation just last week, and we expect that payment coming soon. Foxville Gardens, we had a 13,000 past due, and as of now, it has been paid by a credit card. So that is already paid. As far as the private clients are concerned, South Star Limited Partnership is a shared use facility, and this is the payment to the sinking fund. They were waiting to have the homeowners association formed, select their president, and then they will pay us. So this payment should be coming soon. Wise Recycling is one of our recyclers, and they owe us 148,000, and MES has received a judgment for that amount. Any questions on any of the slides that I presented so far?
I might have missed it, but what was the story about Sudlersville? I mean, the conclusion about Sudlersville.
So for Sudlersville, we operated their water and wastewater treatment plant. There was we were not receiving payments for months. Then we work out an arrangement where they will pay $20,000 each month to pay the current and the past due amounts. And they did not even pay those arranged payments of $20,000 each month for a couple of months. Then we send them that we cannot continue to operate their plant. And I think town of Sudlersville completely stopped paying us. And then I think they are operating their plant themselves.
So the end of the story, Treasurer Kopp, was that in February, this debt was accumulated over years. The bill was approximately $20,000 a month, $15,000 a month, excuse me. And then, so as I came in, I tried to negotiate terms. We came up with a new schedule for $20,000 a month. That failed. And so in all of our contracts with towns, we have a 30-day notice that if we're not receiving payment, that we will leave. It's been investigated since then, but it stays on our books until it's all concluded, legally and financially.
Any questions? Any further questions?
Do we go after them?
That's we do to a certain degree, I guess I'd say, but at the same time, the MES, being a independent state agency, doesn't generally go after towns for forever. And so the Attorney General's office does their best, and if something becomes a debt that is unrecoverable, then we go through the process with the auditors of writing off.
And Treasurer Kopp, if there is an intention to discuss litigation, we would do that in closed session, and then we can look at various options with respect to how that litigation would play out.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
From Mr. Patel?
Okay. Thank you.
All righty, thank you very much, sir. Next item we have is the Human Resources Report of Ms. Jewel White.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
At present, we have 854 positions. The vacancy rate, once the new hires are brought on board, will be 5.35%. So the vacancy rate is moving in the right direction. It is back down. We had a couple of months where the vacancy rate was higher, so I'm very pleased to present this report. Any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And next we have Ms. Wang of our committee.
Thank you, Judge. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can. I can anyway.
Last time I've had a lot of trouble with the audio.
Oh, your hammer was very good.
Good.
Getting it started, yeah.
The HR committee met on August 19, and during the open session, we received a briefing from Ms. White on MES's HR system. We also received a report from Dr. Glass regarding the status of the drafting of all of the HR policies and procedures, which ultimately, when the MES review is completed by Mr. Coleman, it will be forwarded to the HR committee for approval to the board with HR committee recommendations. There's no particular date at this point for completing that review of all of these HR policies and procedures. However, of more immediate concern will be the HR committee's review of specific HR policies as required by the MES Reform Act. And these 4 policies, as we've discussed in the past, cover severances, bonuses, tuition reimbursements, and workforce diversity. These policies will need to be adopted by the board by December 1 and submitted to the General Assembly by the end of the year, December 31st. Currently, these 4 HR policies are being reviewed by Mr. Coleman, and upon completion of his legal review, the policies will be forwarded to the HR committee for its review, comment, and final recommendations to the board. The HR committee anticipates submitting its recommendations to the board, hopefully by the September 23rd board meeting, or no later than the October 28th board meeting, which will allow the board to deliberate and consider and hopefully approve some of these policies by in November for completion by December 1st. And that's the conclusion of my report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions of Ms. Wang? Any questions? All right, hearing none. Thank you very much, and we'll be talking to you. The next is the managing directors coming forward, and I think we have EDR with Marnie. Let's see, I have not met her before, but I will. Dolinar, and she is the acting managing director. Ms. Dolinar, are you?
Yes. Hi, Judge Smolkin.
Oh, hi there. Yes, I think I have seen you.
Yeah, Hart Miller
Hello.
Island.
Nice to see you again. Sorry
You
about that.
too.
Okay. Anything you wish to bring on?
Well, today I'd like to present information about the Port of Baltimore Terrapin Education and Research Partnership Program, also known as the TERP program. This is a partnership between MDOT MPA, Ohio University, Maryland Environmental Service, the National Aquarium, and programs within Calvert, Anne Arundel, and Prince George's County Public Schools. The TERP program is in its 17th year, where turtles are raised by partners and students K through 12. MES supports MDOT MPA with the TERP program both on-site at Poplar Island and through outreach programs in classrooms across the state of Maryland. Diamondback terrapin populations in the Chesapeake Bay have dropped in recent years due to a combination of factors, including predators, habitat loss, and over-harvesting, despite terrapins being a protected species in our state. Poplar Island provides ideal nesting habitat for terrapins that need sandy beaches to lay their eggs, and we've seen nesting success rates at Poplar at up to 80%. And since 2002, 13,000 diamondback terrapins have hatched on Poplar Island. Terrapins are given a head start for success when they are raised in classrooms and with partners through the TERP program. The Head Start terrapins grow much larger than the wild terrapins of the same age, which gives them a lot better chance of survival. Female Head Start terrapins also reproduce at an earlier age, which helps with their population. The TERP program also helps the students who can learn about terrapin biology and their habitat. All the terrapins in the TERP program are natural hatchlings in the sands of Poplar Island, which are monitored by and studied by Ohio University. MES helps with to distribute the hatchlings in the late summer to the classrooms and the partners. And then in the spring, we host release tours at Poplar Island from March through June, where turtles are released into the wild by the students. Since the program began, 2,800 terrapins have been started by Maryland students. And we've even seen some of the adult females come back to nest. So, any questions about the TERP program?
Questions of Ms. Delanar? Anyone? I would like to say thank you for being with us, and I'm sorry I missed your name. I have met you. A very nice individual you are indeed. I will also want to say, for people who are not familiar with MES, which is possible, we have some abbreviations, as you find almost everywhere, so I'm going to try to set them as we bring people in. The EDR, with which Ms. Dolanar is responsible as acting managing director, is for environmental dredging and restoration. So just wanted to make sure those were out there. All righty. Thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate that. I think we go on now to
Yes,
ops. I think.
Judge, could I?
Oh yeah, sure.
This is my first meeting, and I apologize. I won't monopolize the airwaves in the future. I promise.
It's yours, ma'am. Whatever.
Ms. Dahmer, your title makes me think of the Climate Change Commission, on which I also serve, and I know CEO Glass has been involved. But do you work with DNR or MDE when you do your projects?
Well, certainly we have permits on our facilities, so we're that, some of the permits we give reporting through MDE, and then MDE is also our client on the Conowingo project. DNR we work closely with. We are working with them. And we do some climate resiliency work on behalf of MPA as well.
Okay, because clearly what you're doing has a potential significant positive impact on our efforts to sustain the marshes and environment.
Yes, and we keep that in mind when we're going forward with Poplar Island. We do some sediment and vegetative monitoring and how that's related to sea level rise, and we're taking that information of course, with our partners, MDOT, MPA, and the Corps in the design of Mid-Bay Island.
Great, good, yes.
We can move forward. Thank you. And we go on to Mr. Tim Ford, operations, environmental operations, sir.
Morning, Your Honor. We can move on to the next slide. I'd like to talk this morning about a recent contract that we just entered into with Prince George's County. This was a long time in coming, roughly 2 years of negotiation with the county to get us to this point. I want to commend the Deputy Chief Kenny Toro for all the hard work that he's done getting us to this point and supporting the interim contracts that led up to this particular 5-year agreement with the county. It's an exciting project for us. In effect, MES will take on the role as a general contractor for the many, many projects that the Department of Environment, Prince George's County Department of Environment is engaged in. Providing primarily engineering and construction management support for their many projects ongoing, and it's in support of the existing operational projects that we have with the county currently, and that is our composting operation over at Western Branch and the Prince George's County Municipal Recycling Facility on Capitol Heights. This particular project was driven by the very important landfill infill project that the county is engaged in. The county has taken great steps. They provided several plans for zero waste. They have a plan for sustainability and resource recovery. But in the meantime, as they work through those projects and successes involved in that planning, they still need to manage a landfill. The current landfill is reaching capacity. It will reach capacity in 2026. And so they've entertained this project to basically fill in the valleys between the various working phases at the existing landfill. So it's not an expansion in the true sense in that they're expanding their footprint, but they will be filling in the valleys in between. That gives them the necessary space and time they need to be able to transition to a more sustainable means of waste management. Again, there are a number of projects. It's a $91 million contract for us. And again, we're looking forward to moving ahead with it. I think that was the only slide we had. Any questions on that? Perfect. Thank you.
All right, sir. That concludes your part of the operation. Thank you very much. Next is TES, which stands for Technical and Environmental Services, and we have Mr. Jason Gillespie with us, and he's Managing Director. And Mr. Gillespie, I'll get you going there. Please go ahead. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Judge Smokin. So this month for the board, we're highlighting some of our renewable energy work that our group does for various clients throughout the state. Currently, we're supporting Hagerstown Community College out in the western part of the state with development of a renewable energy project. We started working with them about 2 years ago, just doing a renewable energy assessment of their facilities to see what is possible there. As a result of that study, we realized that they could produce up to a 2 megawatt per year photovoltaic solution, a canopy solar solution. And we've got the benefits of that study there listed. This was enough for the community college to go to their board and request capital funds to actually implement this project. So we are currently helping them with the RFP stage of the project. So we put the solicitation out to bid. We've received 3 qualifying bids at this point. We have technical staff from MES working with the community college on deciding, who the most qualified is for that bid and to make an award. The ultimate award will be made by the college themselves. So this will not be an MES contract for the actual construction. However, MES is discussing with the community college our ability to provide technical services during the construction so that we can monitor the initial goals of the project and make sure those are being met, and to make sure that things are being done in accordance with the contract. So again, it's a good partnership with the community college. They got a strong program there. You can see again the benefits from an environmental perspective, and we're happy to be working with them to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Any further questions?
Just out of curiosity, when you do this sort of study and pinpoint specific benefits like this, do we have any responsibility if those benefits aren't manifested?
That's a very good question. I think, as a state, we would like to see all of these benefits realized. In this case, I think we're very fortunate that the community college was able to get capital funding to go forward with this project. There are a lot of times that that's not the case, however, and MES in particular has been able to work with MEA or DNR or MDE in certain respects to get some grant funding so these projects can go forward. But I think definitely as you say, as these projects are identified and through some of the work I know that the Solar Task Force is doing, these are state projects that we should be moving forward with as a state. So I think connecting the dots to make these happen is a priority. Not only for MES, but for the state.
I couldn't agree more, but I was wearing another hat, and I just wondered, when we say you will reduce 94 tons of CO2 annually, and they only reduce 70, do we, and they follow what we suggested, do we have any responsibility for that?
Well, I don't think it's, if I can interject, I don't think it's regulated it right now and audited like we would in water, or monitored in that way. But the calculations when photovoltaics are up, and if that electricity use is there, I think that mass balance for not burning fossil fuels and using energy from, up another plant, a coal burning plant, I think that's pretty correct. And there is no audit process right now on the back end, but I think that the science and math of using that much electricity in exchange, they're basically just saying that if you're using it from those photovoltaics, you're not taking it from a coal-fired power plant. Those are direct.
Yeah, no, I get that. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Gillespie? All right, hearing none. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll proceed on with WWW, water and wastewater, and it will be given to us by Mr. Mark Serio, who is the acting managing director. Mr. Serio, sir. We have to. We need to get your.
There you go. Not a great intro, was it? If I can go off script for 1 second, I just want to thank Dr. Glass for his kind words for the ECI crew during the emergency over the week. And I know it's a cliche, but really it's all about those folks with the boots on the ground, our Eastern Regional staff, supervisors, operators that just were 24/7 and got the job done. So hats off to them. Next slide, please. For Mr. Tanner's information, the water wastewater group, we operate about 250 facilities throughout the state with a staff of about 200 people. This month, I'm highlighting a project that does come under our group, but has little to do with water wastewater operations, but nevertheless as important. This is a stormwater management inspection project managed by Mr. Luke Page of our engineering division, and it's at St. Mary's County. You can see the county there. On the right-hand side is the county also. It's broken up into 3 phases. Just a little eye candy for you there, and I'll explain why we did that shortly. Next slide, please. Okay, so this program has been around since about 2012, at least MES's involvement. And what it is we are required every 3 years, the state requires actually the client, St. Mary's County, to do inspections of their BMPs, best management practices. Strange word, I always think, because that can include actual physical assets, but also managerial paperwork practices as well. Regardless, we've divided the county into 3 phases, and we do 1 phase every year. There's about 125 BMPs that we inspect. We look at them for structural integrity, vegetation, managerial practices, and what it basically is for is to treat, prevent, and reduce water pollution. It's also now recently converted to a web-based inspection program, like most things in life are getting to, and that's working out well. After we do our inspections, we mail the results to the property owners that essentially have to fix them. Next slide, please. Here's my last slide. Interesting one inspection. If you look in the upper left, there is a BMP, and you can see the overgrown vegetation in there, trees. You can see that the security fence has fallen down. Maybe the riprap there or whatever, the stone there and the channel has also degraded. We did our inspections, sent in the reports. In the lower right-hand side, you can see where everything is back to where it should be. So the water will essentially run into this pond and then run out that channel and really prohibit erosion from surrounding structures from too much water being released at one time in one area. The fence is up, so we now have security for our local population, kids, and also animals can't get in there and get into trouble. Most of these BMPs, the owners are not even aware that they have them or how to fix them, and we also assist the county with that challenge as well. We have developed maintenance guidelines with the county, and after these things are fixed, the county inspectors will actually go out there and do a follow-up inspection to make sure everything's okay. So unless there's any questions, thank you.
Questions for this gentleman? No, thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Serio.
Sir.
Appreciate it. Goodbye, sir. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to leave, just. Yeah, okay. So now we go on to procurement, which is going to be talked to us from Ms. Hattie Crosby. And before that, Dr. Glass would like to talk a little bit about how we are going to work these things, or perhaps will be working them from here on when we do the meetings. So, Dr. Glass, sir.
Thank you, Judge Malkin. So there are a few, our procurement that we need to process each month have increased because of the change in the MES Reform Act. And I'd like to make a motion that moving forward, we mimic the Board of Public Works in presenting the required procurement items. And in describing that, I don't have to be the treasurer at the top, but the Board of Public Works, there's a sheet that's created that is published on the internet, that is put on the web, and my motion put that summary sheet, a copy of that summary sheet on our website on the Monday, at least 72 hours before the board meeting. Preferably, we'll try to get that done by Friday before the weekend. But to put all these out in that format, and then have and also goes obviously to the board on that same day with detailed package behind it. And that by having that detail put out publicly, we can not retain the responsibility of going through every item at the board meeting. So, but any board member that would like to pull an item to discuss, we would then stop and be prepared from a management perspective to present, anything that you want to hear on that particular project. So we'd have our slides as a backup to go into detail on any particular project. And we would also allow for any board member that wants to abstain from a certain number of the projects because of the conflict. But we would just put all of that information out when we have it prepared for the board members so that the public can comment and make any suggestions or making, or interject at all. So instead of having it just be PowerPoint slides that are presented during the board meeting and having Mrs. Crosby go through each item, we would mimic the Board of Public Works, present all of that information when we put out the board material, and then just ask the board members for them to identify any of the, in this case, any of the items that they wanted to pull to discuss, and then move forward with the vote on all of the items or any of them that are pulled. So that is a motion. I can give it a shorter summary for the record, but I wanted to give you some detail. We could present the list this way, but also know that we had already put it out in the public sphere. So.
I might add, and I think you would agree, just to make sure, that this will not apply to today's meeting, but it will start with the next one, which would be.
That is correct. That is correct. This does not apply to today's meeting. We wanted to
take us into September.
Yeah.
And
yes,
then again, these all would have been presented to the members of the board by them having been sent by email. So everybody will have a chance to look at these things. And before we go farther with this, I'd like to see what Miss Hattie Crosby's idea is on this. Miss Crosby? Because she's the one who, powders the cake. Miss Crosby? Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, there she is.
Yes, I had a problem unmuting. Yes, Dr. Glass and Pam presented this to me last week, so I had a chance to see it as you have seen it today.
All right. Do you have any comment you wish to make, or you wish to?
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who wishes to make a motion with regard to this?
Mr. Chairman, could I just, as a member of the Board of Public Works, just say a Dr. Glass says this is the way it's done at the Board of Public Works? That's not entirely accurate. Our agenda with this sort of information is posted publicly several days before the meeting so that people can see it as soon as possible. But the board is also given the sort of backup material that we have before us today for these projects. For instance, for item 1, very, very similar background information. And in fact, the board is required by law to take a vote on items over a certain size, and it's not a very high size either. It's a couple $100,000. And then if there are smaller items, they are presented to the board in summary fashion like this and can be pulled out. So I just wanted to make that clear. It may be different for MES because of the typical size of a project, that you wouldn't have the same level of board scrutiny. There may be all sorts of reasons, but this is not exactly the same process.
No. I wasn't. This what you see right now is not what I was proffering to share with the board. in advance or with the public. I plan to have the detailed packet that you already received given to you and published publicly by at least 72 hours in advance, preferably Friday before. And I'm remiss in not having the page that you all have in your public agenda, but I plan to mimic exactly what the agenda items are, plus extra background, and have that all published, published on our website for the public to see. So in essence, the public would actually see more than they do now, and have more time to make any comments or anything, as long as it's, as long as there's not still a procurement.
Great. Yeah, I've got it.
This isn't the form. This is just a summary.
And just to be sure, Mr. Coleman, do you see any kind of problems with this idea?
No, I do not, Judge Smolkin. And I think what the practice in the past has been for the board to take an individual vote on each item that's presented to it for procurement that are above a certain dollar limit. One of the reasons for this change is to allow the board to group items or even to vote on the entire list as a unit, rather than going through item by item and having to take a separate vote on each separate item. So that particular practice, I think, is what Dr. Glass was alluding to in terms of how the Board of Public Works handles its approval process of items that it is required to approve. And MES would be adopting that same sort of practice of not taking a vote on each individual item, but voting on groups of items. But the information would still be presented to the board.
And Mr. Coleman, I would reiterate the fact that the Board of Public Works is required to take individual votes on items of a certain size, and that size is not particularly large. Just so you understand that we don't vote on an agenda as a whole.
And so in this case, Dr. Glass is suggesting that would be how we would move forward with approvals of procurement items, but all of the backup would still be provided to the board.
I appreciate that. It's just when Dr. Glass said this is the process used by the Board of Public Works, it is not exactly the process used by the Board of Public Works. This calls, and I think probably appropriately, for more active attention by members of this board to all of the project, including those over $200,000, which is what we vote on the Board of Public Works, simply because these are larger projects. I understand that. And so you would be taking out almost everyone separately. But that is what the Board of Public Works does.
Madam Treasurer, I think after today, you'll see that, when the Secretary's agenda is presented, I obviously attend Board of Public Works. Just in the last PPW, when MDOT took over the long presentation, the Secretary's agenda was just voted on as a whole agenda. So when I say it's like the Board of Public Works, it's to treat either our groups or the 15 items as like the Secretary's agenda, where we didn't go through every. But I'm fine. We can go through it, and you'll see the experience today. And I can withdraw my motion, and we can just work on this again to try to see if there's some way to keep the moving.
I am not in a position to suggest that this is inappropriate for this board. I just wanted to clarify.
Well, I just want to be. I don't want everyone to be comfortable. So let's pause the motion and let's go through the procurements as we normally do. And if the chair is accepting, and we'll see, we'll just have everyone get experience for a couple of months.
And you'll show me a thing or two, and I'll shut up.
Yeah, no, we're fine. So Chair, please, let's move forward without my motion.
We'll put the motion in a stat form and bring it back at some appropriate point.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you very much. Having said all that, Ms. Crosby, the floor is yours.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Item 1 is for the Montgomery County Yard Trim Hauling and Leaf Hauling Contract. The awarded contractor is Consolidated Commercial Service LLC. The amount of the contract is $582,525. And it has an MBE goal of 30%.
All right, is there anyone who has any questions on this item? All right, is there a motion to approve it? Anyone?
So
This is
moved.
Shelley.
Second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. Anybody abstaining?
Judge, this is Marion Wong. I'm abstaining from the consideration as well as the vote.
Amanda Kessler.
Thank you. So other than Ms. Wang, let's have an item of this particular item is now before the committee. Anyone wishing to state either there at an appropriate time, and this is going to go through every one of these, whether there is approval or whether there is not by yea and nay. So, and please raise your hand at the same time. So, is there anyone in favor of this motion? All right.
If I'm not visible.
Yeah.
Anyone opposed? No one opposed? Let's move on to the next item.
Okay, item 2 is the video surveillance and enhancement system for the Montgomery County Solid Waste Service Material Recovery Facility. The awarded contractor is Triangle Communications. The amount of the contract is $271,000.
Right. To this item, are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve the item?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any other questions? Any other discussion at this time? All right, hearing none. Anyone in favor, please raise your hand and state your name. Aye.
Hiram Tanner.
Aye. Marion.
And any nays? Seeing no one saying nay, we'll therefore approve this and go on to the next one. Thank you, Ms. Crosby.
Okay, item 3 is for the Montgomery County Recycling Center General Labor Support Contract. This is competitive sealed bid to be determined. The advertisement date is to be determined. The estimated amount of the contract is $2,752,000 with an MBE goal of 26%.
Seeing this item, is there any question to Ms. Crosby? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the item?
I'll move.
And is there a second?
Second. This is Shelley.
All right, thank you. Is there any other question to be raised? Hearing none, those in favor, please raise your hand or give your name.
Hiram Tanner.
For everybody? Anybody voting nay or abstaining? Hearing none, it's approved. Next.
Okay, item 4 is for the Montgomery County Grinding Operations. This is an equipment purchase. The awarded contractor is Elliott and Fretz Inc. The amount of the award is $259,098. and there's no MBE participation on the equipment.
Questions of Ms. Closer on this? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Any second?
So
Second.
moved.
Sorry, I
And,
missed who made that initial motion.
let's see, I think we have a motion and a second for that, do we not?
We do.
I believe it was Mr. Witt.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. If everyone could say their name when they motion or second, that would help me a lot. Thank you.
That's good too. Thank you very much. Is there any, having had two persons put ahead, is there any further discussion? All right. Anybody abstaining? All right, if not, all those in favor, please raise your hand and state your name. Fred Small.
Hiram
In
Tanner.
favor?
Marion,
Shelley.
Thank you. No one abstaining. Anyone in not approval, not approving? If so, raise your hand and say nine, rather. No one has, therefore there will be an approval. All right, let's move to the next item, please.
Okay, item 5 is for the Brown Station Road sanitary landfill and infrastructure improvement. The awarded contractor is SCS Engineering. The amount of the contract is $22,847,720, and there's an MBE goal of 20%.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
could I just ask, as a new person, for these projects, how you set the MBE goals?
The MBE goal is determined by how many certified MBEs are available within the scope of work. And we have an MBE manager that looks at that and sets a goal per each contract.
Okay, and these are MBEs who are registered with the state?
With Maryland
Yes, with Maryland Department of Transportation.
Mr. Chairman, I also have a question of Patty, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
If I may, can you explain in what instances MES can rely on a client-directed sole source? This is a large contract amount. So I was just wondering when you have to go out to bid versus a client-directed sole source. I mean, is there some justification or rationale for that in this case?
Generally, if the client has used this a contractor within the previously, and they want to continue with that contractor, their chief of procurement or a director within the agency, we allow them to direct MES. They cannot recommend to us if it's not a director or the chief of procurement within their agency.
Does that satisfy your question?
It just seems like a large amount for a
Speak to
sole
this.
source directed contract.
Sure, I can speak to this.
Go ahead, please.
It is this is a multi-year contract. It had started prior to our entering the 5-year contract. It's the design, the permitting, construction and construction support for this large infill project. It's again, multi-year. So because we had already been engaged, this engineer had already been engaged by the county prior to MES coming on board, it's nearly impossible at this point to change contractors and still meet the schedule required for this project. So the county elected to do a county or client-directed sole source so we can continue with this particular contractor based on the critical nature of the schedule. Remember I mentioned earlier that this landfill is expected to reach capacity in 2026. So the first cell under this new construction project has to be designed and constructed prior to that 2026 deadline, or the county's in trouble. Basically, they don't have a place to go with their solid waste. So really, it was based on, we would prefer to bid all this work out, but in this particular case, it's based on the circumstances around the work, critical nature of the work, and the schedule involved. And the fact that this contractor was already engaged in the work.
Mrs. Wong, and for this level of engagement, I met with the acting director of the Department of Environment and the team in solid waste, and everything that Mr. Ford just described was described to me, and it was a condition of our engagement. They literally will run out of landfill space. I don't think Mr. Ford he's being technical and not giving you the severity. Landfills take a long time to design and have in place, and they run out of space in Prince George's County in December of 2025. So it may seem like it's a long way away, but with all design and engineering, they stated this, and we have a long relationship with Prince George's County, and they stated this is a requirement. And so when the request comes from their leadership and it meets basic rules for justification of engineers already being embedded in a county organization, we just support them in that. And so that's Mr. Ford, and that's the general justification.
Thank you. That's helpful. And then the only other follow-up would be for future consideration. I guess I would hope that the MES does have a policy with regard to when it can rely on a client-directed sole source.
We do have a form that is filled out for when clients request, well, all sources as they come up, even if they come up from internal, for service to state agencies. Sure. We do have a process and a form that we'll share with you. So for your knowledge, but this, I want you to know, was a direct meeting with their acting director at the time.
Thank you.
Could I just follow on? I thought I heard Ms. Wayne, what I heard was a question about our operating policies, not whether they fill out the form or not, but do we set out conditions when we approve sole source, or we'll go with a sole source, and when we don't?
So from the perspective of client directed or our own side, because we don't.
Both.
Mrs. Crosby can correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure. If internally we get a request for a sole source, we have a form to justify that sole source. It's not just an immediate approval. We have to get justification to use that sole source.
And then we have written something somewhere, the basis for justification or basis for approval and not.
The sole source justification form comes to myself and also goes to Dr. Glass.
But she's asking, but Treasurer Kopp is asking if we have a policy for how.
On what basis do you?
What's it say? Basically, what's it say, right, Madam Treasurer?
Yeah, I mean, my question is, on what basis do we go with sole source, and on what basis do we say, no, we can't do that?
Most of our sole sources that come up through the organization are equipment related. So the justifications are generally, this is a particular piece of equipment that is necessary. We don't generally sole source for consulting or project management or anything like that. And that's about, generally over the last year, I've only really seen things related to specific equipment manufacturers that have knowledge of the facility, or, and that's also pretty much the only time we don't have some MBE goal, is when there are particular technical equipment that's being sold.
But I guess there is not at this point a set of operating policies that you go to and say, yes, we, just what you said about MBE or sole source or emergency or whatever.
There aren't, I would have to say that I have not read a policy with guidelines for selection of sole source. But other than the
There is,
form,
the agency has adopted procurement regulations that are in COMAR. There is a specific regulation dealing with sole source procurements. The regulation dealing with the client-directed sole sources is also found in that particular provision of COMAR.
So you're saying, Cop, you should go back and do your homework. I will. Thank you.
or Dr. Glass. Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Any further questions or comments on these matters that we've been talking about? Okay. I think you could look at it as, you know, if you're looking at a farm tractor, you've got 10 or 15 different ones who would be able to do the work. But if you're looking at something that is making some kind of a very complicated dredge, you're not going to find a whole lot of them on the road, and you have to go for a specific one. I think that may be one way of looking at it, if that's, you know, one way of looking at it. If there's only one thing out there, you have to take it to a large extent.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Are there any further questions before there is a motion to approve? All right, hearing none of those, is there a motion to approve the item? Or the matter, not just the item, the entire thing that's before us.
Hiram Tanner, so moved.
Any second?
Neil seconds.
All right, thank you, sir. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand and state your name, Fred Smolkin.
Cop.
Hiram.
Marion,
Abstaining? Any saying nay? Hearing none, the item is approved. Next item. Wait a minute.
Okay,
Okay,
the
there you
next,
go. You disappeared. Okay.
I'm still here, but my screen didn't turn. Anyway, item 6 is for the household hazardous waste collection at the Brown Station landfill. This is a competitively sealed proposal. The awarded contractor is ACV Enviro, and the amount is $2,400,000. And there's an MBE goal on this contract of 18%.
Are there any questions for Ms. Costa on this item?
I have a question. Were there any other bidders on this contract besides ACV?
I will. That I don't know.
I don't believe so. I don't believe so, Hattie.
Thank you.
It's a unique and difficult service.
Out of curiosity, is this the incumbent?
There was a contractor that defaulted, and they're in an interim role. So they're familiar with it, and they were comfortable with bidding it. We did reach out to a number of other bidders, potential bidders, prior to this being let, and really thought we would get more than one bid. But again, this is a difficult service. It's not full-time, and there aren't too many people in this business.
We feel comfortable with the pricing
Yes.
based on past experience.
Yes, and it's comparable to, we have an existing contract with these folks for smaller events across the state that we work with various counties to sponsor. These are usually, in fact, on the Eastern Shore, we do a number for, 2 of them a year within the 4 counties. So we're familiar with these folks. We did check to see that the unit pricing was comparable to what they had previously bid. And we're comfortable with what they've offered.
Other questions? Any other questions on this particular item? All right, is there a motion to approve?
Shelley, I'll move.
This is Mary, and I'll second.
All right then, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those, there are no, let's see here. Yes, we're ready to go. If you are in favor, please raise your right hand and state your name. Fred Smolkin.
Shelley.
Marion.
Thank you. Anyone abstaining? Hearing no one abstaining. Anyone saying nay? Hearing none. Therefore, the item is approved. Next item.
Okay, the next item is for a barn replacement at the Brown Station Road landfill. This is a design, build, and replacement. The advertisement date is to be determined, and the estimated amount is $668,500, and the MBE goal is 10%.
Hearing none. Willing to make a motion?
Bobby Witt, I'll make a motion.
And does anyone second it?
Cop second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none and hearing no abstaining at this moment. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and state your name. Fred Smolkin.
Aye. Shelley.
Marion.
No one is abstaining. Anyone nay on this? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Next, I assume there is a next, Ms. Cosby.
Yes. The next is
many are
item
there?
8.
Mr. Chairman, could I interrupt just for a second? I have to go to my car, and I will try to be on the phone the whole time until I get into the car, but just in case, I want it noted for the record.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it very much. Appreciate your having been here with us now and forever. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item 8
Next.
is for the ECI cogeneration plant water fuel conversion project. This will be a competitively sealed bid. The advertisement date is to be determined. The estimated amount is $4,933,100, and the MBE goal is 17%.
Any questions beyond that? Hearing none, is there a motion to agree?
Neil moves to approve.
All right. Anyone have a second? I'll be a second. I'll second myself. I think I can do that. I have to call Roberts to find out, but I think I can. Therefore, there's a second. Are there any further matters to be thought on this? To Ms. Crosby, hearing none. All those in favor, please raise your hand, state your name.
Bobby. Byron.
Shelley.
Wong.
Thank you. Anyone abstaining? No one abstaining. Anyone nay? None. Therefore, it is approved. Thank you. Next.
Next is item 8, which is the ECI fuel conversion construction inspection contract. The awarded contractor is CC Johnson Mahorcha PC, and the amount is $230,000. The MBE goal on this contract is to be determined.
Anyone have any questions on this? Hearing none, is there anyone who wishes to make a motion on it? I'll move on it. Is there a second?
I'll second. Bobby Witt.
Any further questions? Hearing none and hearing no abstaining, all those in favor, please state your name and raise your hand.
Long.
Witt,
Fred Smolkin. Thank you. Got you, Mr. Neal. Everybody else?
Judge Smokin, your audio is kind of going in and out.
Oh, okay. Well, you can thank Xfinity for that. If you would like to send them something, I'd be very happy to sign off on it myself. Thank you. Okay. Anyone abstaining? Anyone who is in a position of nay? None. Therefore, it is approved. Next.
Okay, next is item 10. It's for the ECI fuel conversion construction administration services. This is the AE contract. The awarded contractor is HDR Engineering, Inc. The amount is $248,581.
Anyone have any questions as to that from Ms. Crosby? All right, hearing none. Is there a motion? Anyone
So
have a
moved.
motion?
So moved, Marion.
Second? Second? Or do we have a second?
I'll
Neil
second.
second.
It is now seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, please raise your right hand, state your name.
Shelley.
Long.
Everybody? Pam? We're all ready, Pam? Anybody else? Can you hear me?
I can hear you better when you lean forward.
Okay, I'll try to do that. I've got some kind of a gizmo here. How's that?
Much better.
Is that better? Okay,
Yes.
fine. I went to something years ago, and it was a very elderly gentleman who had been a federal judge for a long time, and he was giving a speech, and people in the back, somebody said, well, Judge, we can't hear you. And he would say, look at them and say, well, what are you complaining about? So I'll rest with that. All right, then. I think we've got everybody in on this. Is that correct? Therefore, it's approved. Next.
Okay, the next item is a change order to the contractor's Barton and LaJuice contract. This is for AE services. The amount of this change order is $162,512. And the total revised contract with this change is $337,709. And the MBE goal is 22%. The contractor is currently achieving 21%.
Any questions for Ms. Crosby on this? Hearing none, is there a motion on it?
So moved, Marion.
Second?
Second, Hiram.
All right, second. Any further before we go? None? All right, those in favor, please raise your hand, state your name. Fred Smolkin.
Witt,
Shelley.
Marion.
All set, Pam?
Good.
All right. Anyone abstaining? None. No one's abstaining. Anyone nay? None. Therefore, it is approved. Next.
Yes, item 12 is for MDOT SHA local data annual submission phase. This is a GIS support contract. The awarded contractor is Whitney, Bailey, Cox, and Magnany. The amount of the contract is $316,088.69. The MBE goal on this contract is 40%.
Don't have any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve it?
Neil moves approval.
Long second.
Further questions of Ms. Crosby on this matter? And hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your hands, state aye. Fred Smolkin.
aye.
Aye, Hiram Tanner.
Long.
Guess we move to the next.
Crosby?
Yes.
okay.
Item 13 is a contract for the Maryland Energy Administration, a geothermal study. The awarded contractor is Strawhan Environmental, and the amount of this contract is $400,000. The MBE goal on this contract is 29%. The contractor is also an MBE.
All right. Any questions, Ms. Crosby, on this matter? Having heard none, is there anyone who wishes to make a motion on this?
Would, I'll make a motion.
Second?
Hiram, I'll second.
All right, has been seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none, and hearing no one abstaining. If you agree to the matter, please raise your hand, state your name.
It's Hiram.
Shelley.
Aye. Witt.
Hi, Fred Smolkin. All right. No one's abstaining. Anyone with a nay? Hearing none, approved. Next.
Okay, item 14 is for the New Germany State Park water and sewer system improvement. This is the architect and engineer contract. The awarded contractor is Wildtech Engineering Corporation. The amount of the contract is $407,845, and the MBE goal on this contract is 29%.
Any questions on this matter? Hearing none, is there a motion on it?
Neil moves approval.
Seconded. I'll second it. Any further questions on this item? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand, state your name.
Shelley.
Wong.
Witt.
Hiram.
Thank you very much. And there are no abstentions. Are there any nays? None. Therefore, it's approved. Next, if there is one.
Okay, item 15 is for a complete repower of the Hart Miller crew boat. This will be an RFP. The advertisement date is to be determined. The estimated amount for this contract is $275,000.
Questions about this item? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Marion.
Second.
Shelley.
Anyone else have any questions on this item? Hearing none, all those.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, yes.
just to say, this is Nancy Kopp. I'm back in the car, and I vote aye.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
All right. Is there a motion to approve?
I believe a motion was already made
Oh,
on
we
this.
already have,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah,
I'm getting in out to, where are we, about 14 or 15, so I'm sorry about that one. All right. All those in favor, please raise your hand. State aye.
Marion. Marion.
Witt.
Hiram.
We're all good.
All right. No abstentions. Anyone stating nay? Hearing none. This item is also approved. Next.
You did it.
Is that it?
That was the last item for approval. On the screen are part of the notifications.
There's one question I want to ask Ms. Crosby. Ms. Crosby, before the change in the statutes, when the threshold item was 250,000, and now we're at 200,000, how many more have you had to bring before us after the change compared to when it was only 250 and above? Is about half of them?
I would say maybe about half. I think since July 1, because of the $200,000 threshold, is why you're seeing more items on the board agenda.
I just wanted to see what the margin was as we changed from 250 to 200. And also, of course, we are seeing that there are a large number of items that we have to take a look at, and that's something I think we have to take into consideration with what Dr. Glass is talking about, and you were talking about earlier. All right, anything else? Well, thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
All right. And you also have the ones between 25,000 and 200,000, is that correct?
Yes, the notifications.
Anyone have any any questions as to that item that has been given to us? Hearing and seeing none, we will proceed. The next item is from our counsel, Sean Coleman. And
good morning again, everyone. Probably the most significant, or one of the most significant achievements that we had in the last month is that we have finalized a right of entry with Exelon that will enable the Conowingo dredging project to move forward. The project is anticipated to begin sometime after Labor Day. The one matter that still needs to be reviewed by Exelon is some insurance policies that are being provided by the contractor. But at this point, assuming that those policies have been approved by Exelon, the MES and its contractor will be able to move forward with the dredging project in Conowingo. The other issue, Ms. Wong mentioned earlier, a number of policies that we are looking at. We're focused on those policies, getting through our review for those, because we do have a deadline of December 31st for approval of those particular policies by the board. But in addition to that, since Dr. Glass became executive director, the agency's been going through a review of all of its policies, not just HR policies. And there are others that deal with administration, with environmental compliance, and others. And they have reviewed those, and they're now in our shop to be reviewed as well. But in addition to the policies, the HR policies that need to be approved by the board by December 31st, there is a—
Sean, can I interject? The
Yes.
deadline for adoption by the board, I believe, is December 1st.
Oh, I'm sorry, December the 1st. Thank you. But one other policy that the General Assembly directed be adopted, and this one by October 31st, is a conflicts of interest policy. And that has my priority right now in terms of reviewing a draft policy and providing that to the board members in draft form for their review, which will occur before the September meeting for your review. And then the board can decide how much modification needs to be made to that draft as we move forward with that. The final matter, just so you're aware, my staff did expand yesterday. We have added an additional attorney, partly because of all these procurement items that we have to review, as well as you saw earlier, all the various proposals that the agency has submitted and that have been approved. Our office reviews all of those proposals before they go out as well. So we do now have 4 attorneys working with MES. That's all I've got at this point.
Well, you can take a couple of days off then, every week.
Someday we'll be taking.
All right. I just to add something to it, this whole idea about dredging through the Susquehanna is extremely important for those who are close to the Mason-Dixon line and close to Harford County, Cecil County, all up around the Susquehanna. And this is a major operation, and I'm glad that it's on the move. Thank you.
Certainly.
All right. Is there any old business?
Judge Smoke, if I may. So we have received the board estimate proposal. However, it did come in significantly higher than our estimate. So I'm going to sit back and meet with Mrs. Crosby to discuss how we go forward. We have a limited time for that project, for that report to be produced for the General Assembly. However, it came in significantly higher than we estimated. So we'll circle back on that. I just wanted to give the board an update on that. And then I did want to announce, as a form of new business, I mentioned it briefly, but that I do want to let you all know that Mr. Ford is now is off of his title as of last week, and that we followed the requirements of the Maryland and the Reform Act to interview and search for other candidates. And although he is internal, he was head and shoulders above all the other candidates. And it's been a pleasure to work with him for this last year and 2 months, and he stepped up tremendously. And he's been doing a lot of great things leading environmental operations. So I just want to make sure that you all were aware of that and give him some congratulations from us all. And that's it. Thank you, Judge Mulkin.
When I was talking about the Susquehanna, I didn't talk about, I was meaning more about the law part of it that had to come through, which is what we had to look at this motion. Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right. Hearing no old business, is there any new business that we have not covered that anyone wishes to apply? There being none, the next meeting and date times we have would be Thursday, 23rd of September at 9:30 usual time, and we're still within Zoom. And I don't know how long we'll stay there, but we're there for now anyway. All right. Let's see here. There also is an audit committee meeting scheduled for the 23rd of September also at 9 a.m. And let's see here.
Excuse me, Judge.
Oh.
I think we have consensus that we're going to move that to 8:30, correct?
Exactly. 8:30. I did not change
I
that.
I think we just needed to confirm with the treasurer if she or her delegate were available at 8:30 instead of 9.
All right. So we'll get you'll let us know.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yes. Okay.
The answer is yes. So we will be at 08:30 instead of 9 a.m. then. All right.
And we will need to schedule an HR committee sometime before the next board meeting. So we'll need to pick a date and time for that.
Exactly. And I think that can be worked out through Jana. Is that correct?
I think so.
All right. Thank you. All right. Now I think we really have come to the end, more or less. Okay. So the board now intends to meet in closed session for the following reasons as permitted under section 3-305, subsection B of the general provisions article of the annotated code of Maryland. And that is to discuss the performance and compensation of an employee of the service. Is there any member of the board who objects to a meeting in a closed session for this purpose? I hear none. Is there anyone else viewing the meeting of objects to the board meeting in closed session? If there are objections, they may contact MES through its website at menv.com, C-O-M. At this point, I'll ask for a motion from the board to meet in closed session.
So moved, Marion.
Any second?
This is Shelley, and I'll second.
There having been a second, are there any questions to be made? Hearing none. I'm calling for a vote at this point. All those in favor of this closed session, please raise your hand and state your name.
Neil.
Marion.
Hiram.
Is that all, Pamela?
I believe so.
Anyone abstaining at this point?
So at this point, Ms. Leach will move all of the board members into the breakout room and the open session will be ended.